Most of the time when I'm talking with a group like this, it's other carvers, and I'm trying to instruct them on how to design or learn how to carve and all the techniques. It's a very technical art form we have. Tonight, obviously, this is quite different. Laura kind of outlines some of the influences that I had early in my life, and of course I had my initial education was involved in wildlife, and I had an interest in that from a very young age. I guess a point of notation here, this is actually the 40th year since I first attended this show. So that's going back to 1975. Of course, the show only started in 1971, so I really feel fortunate to have had the opportunity to witness a lot of history involved in the evolution of the art form. And when I first attended the show, I met a lot of the carvers that I heard about. These individuals became my idols, and they were the true legends at the time. This group of carvers includes, and unfortunately, a lot of these individuals are not with us today. But these are people, and I want to tell you this because these are people that influenced me at the beginning of my carving career. Individuals like John Sheeler, who really was a mentor for a lot of carvers, and unfortunately he's been gone for quite a long time. He had a very short carving career, but he really was at the forefront of bird carving and design at the time. Bill Scholz, who was the father of Mark Scholz, who some of you may know. Other individuals who carved decoys like Jim Foote, Larry Hayden, and then we also had a really very talented group of Canadian carvers that I got to know really well in our Canadian shows. Individuals like J.B. Godin, who was one of last year's recipient of the Living Legends Award. Al Glassford, Paul Burdett, who actually was the individual that brought the first carving that I had at the World Championship in 1974. He brought that carving to the show for me. He called me and asked me if I wanted him to bring it to the World Championship. Well, I didn't know what the heck is this World Championship. I didn't have a clue that this show even existed. So anyway, he brought it down here, and it actually, the carving did very well. And like I say, these were the legends of the time, and people that and I can still look back and look at my work and say, I can see the influences in my work today from those individuals. So it's very clear that the top carvers have a really tremendous influence on a lot of the other individuals just starting to carve, and I felt like I've done my part in that too at various times. Done a lot of teaching. In the late 70s, when I graduated from university in 1979, I made a decision to try to make bird carving a career for myself. I wanted to make my living carving birds. And it worked out really well for me. Obviously, I'm still doing it today. And I can honestly say this is the only full-time job I've ever had. At beginning, obviously going to school, you have summer jobs and stuff, but it's really been the only full-time job I've ever had. I can remember my mother saying to me at one time after I made that decision, when are you going to look for a real job? And anyway, I think I convinced her at some point that I think I made the right decision. And another little bit of history that I want to point out to you. Around that time, in kind of the mid to late 70s, there was a there was a group of carvers, young, really passionate individuals that had a real intense interest in carving birds, and something we all had in common was a real passion for the subject we were working with, the birds themselves. We just we loved the birds, and we loved the variety of form and color and everything that we saw in those birds. And that group included individuals like Larry Barth, Bob Boogie, who was one of our living legends 2 years ago. Unfortunately, he's not with us today. Gary Yoder. Not too long after that, we had individuals like Todd Wold, Jet Brunet, Jude Brunet, Floyd Scholz. All these guys came online, and even to this day, we're all making our living doing this. When we look back, we look at this. We came on the scene in our early 20s. We were in the heyday of bird carving. There was a great market for our work. It allowed us to make a living at it. We had individual collectors that really wanted to buy our work, and that's I guess something we really have to thank the collectors for being there, because it allowed us to do the work that we were doing. Like I say, we had the common thing that we all had. We all worked on our own little territory, our own little workshop, innovating, learning how to carve on our own, developing our own style. And we're all still here today, except obviously Bob Boogie. We lost him a couple years ago. And another little bit of history that I really have to point out, something that happened because of my decision to carve birds full-time for a living. That was obviously a decision that affected me for my whole life. I think we all of us that carve real seriously like to think, well, we're going to leave a legacy of some sort at the end of our lives. And obviously I can think of various things that I've done that I think in the body of my work that are significant things that I consider legacies. But there's something else, a little bit of history I should point out. Back in 79, I decided to carve birds for a living. But in 1976, I won the World Championship of World Pairs for the first time. So next year, that'll be 4 years for that. And I think what happened there, I met an individual at that show. I think there was a little influence coming from Louisiana. I think Tam Renee, who was competing that year, the group of Canadian carvers came to that show and brought a pair of decoys for the World Pairs from Tam Renee. Tam didn't place that year. I think he asked his very good friend Jimmy Veasey to kind of check out this young upstart that came in here and won the World Championship. So I met Jimmy Veasey in 1976. And to talk a little bit more about that story, in 1981, Jimmy Veasey and Marion, his wife, brought their daughter to the show, and I was introduced to Jessica Veasey in that very convention center where we're having the show today. And we were introduced by Jan Brunet, Tam Renee's wife. And a lot of you know the rest of the story. If you don't, it was in 1985, Jessica and I were married, and shortly after that, Jim, Ben, and Emily arrived. And you can see, well, actually the next chapter in that story, May of last year, our first grandchild arrived. Based on that, I can honestly say my decision to carve birds has left a real significant legacy in my life. I also want to thank a lot of individuals who came quite a long distance, friends and family here, including Myra and Misty. And of course, my mother-in-law. I got a whole table here, family and friends. And anyway, I appreciate everybody coming, and it really is an honor to be selected for this. Now, I also want to say something too before I leave, because when Bobby gets up here, we'll listen to some great stories too, likely. Anyway, Bobby is I can remember Bobby probably as long back as I can remember in bird carving. And one of the significant things that Bobby has taken on in more recent years is to try to promote carving to young people, to try to feed our art form from the bottom, because that's, I think, a significant thing that we really need to be concerned about. And that little story I told about us, that young group that started there, we need to see that happening more. Yeah, and Bill Veasey, another little story here about Bill, an interesting coincidence. This is total coincidence. In 1994, we were both inducted at the same time to the Wildfowl Festival Hall of Fame on the same year, the same little group. So again, he's another legend that truly deserves this. So thank you very much.
And I'm going to give you the award, so hang tight. Let me get down. It's heavy.
You already gave me the award.
Oh. Take it.
Wow.
Is that going to fit in the suitcase?
Yeah, may have a problem.
Congratulations. They will have to set that forward, and I'm going to pass you the microphone to share some of the wisdom.
Well, I don't know about wisdom. I'm pretty short on wisdom. But to the Ward Foundation and all of its members, ladies and gentlemen, and to all of my dear friends that are here to help me enjoy this, I would like to accept the award in the name of all the people that have been my friends and helped me do some of the things that I've done. I can truthfully say no one was ever more surprised than I to receive such a great award. But like I said, it all revolves around the people that have been my friends and helped me do it. I think up the idea, somebody else do it. Anyway, I am really, truly honored to have been in the carving world since. First show I ever went to was August 1970. And I've had the opportunity, I think, to know every world champion there ever was. All have been my friends. And I never made a living at carving because my wife told me, hey boy, if you think you're going to make us a living carving birds, you go find you another girl. That woman was one smart lady. But I would have starved to death. To be in the company of all these great carvers is a privilege for me, because I was never a great carver. one thing that all these fancy names that Pat just brought up, every one of them I know. Every one of them I consider my friend. And as far as the judging is concerned, I've been honored to judge with the finest there is, all of them. And I now am qualified for one thing I was always accused of. They always said them damn dumb judges, blind judges. That's me now. I never accomplished any of these things without the help of all the dear friends. And to all of you, I would like to say thank you. If you want to hear some more intimate stories, come to the show tomorrow, and we're going to sit down and I'll maybe tell you a few stories that I shouldn't tell up here. One person in this room I would really, truly love to say thank you to, and that's my dear nephew, Mr. Paul Devers, who has taken his time and his efforts over the last few years to bring me to these shows that I would not be able to attend otherwise. So Paul, I'll say thank you. And last one thing, all of you people really need to think about this idea of teaching our young people to carve. I'm a little ashamed of me and how my promotional talents that I think maybe I had, and the people that I know, we haven't so far done a real good job of that. And we need some new young people. Thank you all, one and all, and nobody has ever had more fun in carving than I have.
There you go. All right, you ready? It's not hollow. Take the microphone down. Set that down here. And I'm sure you'd also like to share some memories.
Wow. I never thought something like this would happen to me. And I think most people who enter into something like this have a dream. And I'm here just to tell you tonight that if you follow your dream, you can make it come true. Do that. I'm gratified that so many of my family are here from the four corners. All my children are here. Many of my grandchildren are here. I have a great-grandson here, and all of them have supported me over the years. I'm going to make this very short. When I talk about a dream, I would like to remind you of the words of the poet Langston Hughes, who said, "Follow your dream, and if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly." Thank you.
You know, folks, I got to tell you, I have a photo in my studio that's been there for years, and it's a picture of myself and Bob Sutton on a cruise ship about 10 or 12 years ago. And I'm here to tell you, Bob Sutton looks very good in a toga. He dressed in a toga during some big cruise ship party we were having where I was teaching on a cruise ship, and we had ourselves a whole lot of fun. I wanted to take just a very brief minute and close this out by telling you what an incredibly beautiful and meaningful art form we have in this thing called bird carving. You know, for so many of us, it combines everything we love in the world, a love and admiration of nature, a celebration of art, engineering, sculpture, painting, it seems to tie it all together, woodworking, in such an incredible package that to celebrate it and share in this traditional art form that everybody is quite a thrill. I think I want to say a few words on behalf of most decorative bird carvers that are alive today and practicing this art form, and pay a special tribute to my good friend Pat Godin, because standing before you and having the opportunity to say a few words about my friend Pat Godin, it makes me feel like I'm completing a circle. I attended my first World Show in 1980, and I was well aware of Pat and his formidable skills as an artist and a sculptor of birds, but most importantly, a storyteller. And it was so inspirational to me. And what struck me most about Pat was his openness to share and discuss technique, and his humble nature when he was on the receiving end of endless compliments. I was just totally amazed that he took the time to talk to me, a competition newcomer, and share techniques. And every bird I do has a little bit of Pat Godin in it, in terms of technique and procedure, and a love of the art form, and a respect of the art form, and the tremendous talents that we built upon, the John Sheelers and the Bill Scholzes, and of course the list goes on and on. Pat's work pulses with life, and I, like so many others, from Larry Barth on down, stand in awe of Pat's abilities and his inventiveness to combine all of these elements into this beautiful art. He's a master at combining art and natural science, and as a storyteller, whether it's a woodcock drifting down through aspen, or I remember well the magpie with the mouse and the translucency that he showed in those scapular feathers, made me want to go home and just really practice and practice and practice, because if Pat could do it, by God, it wasn't magic, and we can do it too. So Pat's a bridge. He's been in this competitive circle now for over 40 years, and he truly is one who sees and understands the importance of tradition in this art form. Pat was there in the beginning when the great masters of this art form, even the Ward brothers, were here, and he is the bridge to that time to now, when there's new guys coming along doing just amazing things. And to be able to have that foresight and that insight into this art form makes Pat somebody that I'll admire for the rest of my life tremendously. I'm proud to have him as a friend. So when I said in the beginning that I feel as though I've completed a circle, I'm standing here now 35 years later, thanking Pat once again for sharing in his art so incredibly generously, that has lifted this art form that we all celebrate. We've come, a lot of us, from a long distance to be together for this special weekend. It goes by like that, so fast. You blink your eyes and suddenly you're driving home. And so again, I've come full circle so I can stand before you all and personally thank my dear friend for all he's done to the newcomers, to me, and for lifting this beautiful, important art form to the level of singular excellence that it's achieved today. So, wow, thank you, my friend.
I wrote this when I found out you were going to be one of the recipients tonight, and I'm thankful to the foundation for allowing me to come here and read it to you. This is a tribute to Robert Bob Sutton. A little closer. I'm soft-spoken. I have a pretty sexy voice, too. Year after year, he was always there, promoting carving everywhere. If you would listen and have the time, he would call you, and often on his dime. And together you would talk and plan under the guidance of this fine man, discussing rules needed at every show. So no excuses for carvers not to know what you could and couldn't do to every decoy carved by you. But here today, we want to tell your dedication serves us well. Through your vision and working hard, from novice to pro, we have our card. You have pushed, pulled, and led us all the way. So from all of us, thank you, Mr. IWCA.